Hello everyone, this is Harry. In this issue, we have a film based on a real story. Gangsters Paradise, Jerusalem. Lucky lived in a small village in South Africa. As a teenager in 1994, he and his friend Zakas had to make a living while he still went to school. They often sold goods to passengers on trains. But the train was not allowed others to do business, so they were often driven off by the guard. Lucky dreamt of changing his destiny by reading, having a BMW and a seaside villa. But when he received the university admission notice, he was both happy and disappointed. Because his family had a mother and several young brothers and sisters to support. Family meal was a problem. How could he mention the university tuition? That day, Lucky and Zakas met the village gangster Nazareth on the road. Nazareth was doing business of cars and lived the life of a rich man. Lucky, though envious, disdained the crime. So when Nazareth gave him money, Lucky refused. Lucky liked reading books. He hoped to arm himself with knowledge instead of violence. In order to afford tuition, he and Zakas started a car wash job. But the money was not enough for the family to eat. Finally, Lucky bowed his head to reality. He and Zakas went to find Nazareth. In order to test them, Nazareth let them grab a white 10,000 bell truck back. Lucky and Zakas went to the road to look for the target. But they had been waiting for half a day, but there was no white truck. They sat dejectedly by the side of the road discussing what to do. Just as a driver asked them the way, Zakas came forward and enthusiastically showed the driver the way. Lucky looked up and saw that the truck in front of him was a white truck. He immediately took out his gun and pulled out the driver to grab the car. But when he and Zakas sat in the car, they realized that they didn't know how to drive yet. The poor driver not only had his car robbed, but also had to gently taught the robbers to drive. Then, they learned to drive the car. In the end, he finally finished the mission and became Nazareth's valet. Lucky and Zakas took the money they earned to improve their family's life. But in front of the eyes of the mother, Lucky said with a guilty conscience that he had found a job in the auto factory. Since then, car robberies had become more and more frequent and money had been earned much more. Lucky bought all kinds of electrical goods for his family, and his younger brother and sister had new clothes. He finally had the courage to be with the girl he liked. But Lucky also gradually lost himself, leaving behind his dream of going to college. Then Nazareth found the inspiration of the cash truck from the movie. Lucky and Zakas robbed a cart transporting vegetables. Then overturned the cart, set up obstacles on the road, and waited until the cash truck stopped there. Nazareth drove the truck to knock over the cash truck from the side and snatch the money box. In the robbery, all the escorts were shot dead. Their courage was more and more big. After that, they bribed the bank offices to implement bank robbery. Of course, it was not going to be easy to do this kind of work. That day, Lucky and Zakas were chased by the police during the robbery. They drove into the yard and escaped under the cover of their accomplices. This made Lucky and Zakas realize that if he continued like this, he would be shot by the police one day. So they decided to wash their hands, found a job at the gas station and reapplied to the university. Soon after, Nazareth came to him again and advised him, "Son, you can't give up crime. This was the biggest growth industry in this country." With Nazareth's hard and soft words, Lucky agreed to do it again for the last time because he was helped by others. In the evening, Nazareth took more than 10 people to an electrical equipment firm. They drove through the door and started to grab electrical equipment. Unexpectedly, the firm installed a security alarm, and the police soon arrived. There was a fierce fight between two sides and Nazareth was caught. Lucky was hit in the leg by the police when he tried to escape. Fortunately, Zakas escaped from the bathroom window with Lucky. When they were going home, they saw that the village was full of police. They had to avoid the police first. Finally, Lucky said goodbye to his mother and girlfriend and got the train with Zakas. Time flied so fast, 10 years had passed. Lucky and Zakas made a living by driving taxi in Hillbrow. Most of the resources here were controlled by white people and segregated. Black people like Lucky could only live in the slums where the law and order were chaotic and drugs were rampant. Even so, they still had to pay high rents to white landlords. Although Lucky still had his dream, the real life had already exhausted him. His girlfriend gave up college and came here to work as a bank teller. She helped the customers withdraw their money, then sent her brother the customer's appearance. Her brother carried out the robbery outside the bank. After Lucky repeatedly advised his girlfriend to stop, he gradually disappointed with her. Lucky wanted to live a peaceful life. But after that day, when two gangsters snatched the taxi, he jumped out of the car and recovered his life. Since the world kicked him with pain, he could only repay it with hatred. This incident made Lucky realize that he couldn't survive without violence. He decided to change his destiny with weapons and brain. With just a little bit of money, Lucky registered a housing trust. Bought a gun and found Nazareth to get out of prison, summoned a group of gangsters. Lucky called on the tenants of the whole building to hand over the rent to his trust company in the future. Then he would negotiate with the landlord on behalf of them. Not only landlords would be required to make necessary repairs to their houses, but they would also halve their rents. Tenants had long been angry at the exploitation of white landlords. So they all responded to Lucky's call. And then Lucky brought everyone together in the building. Drug addicts, drug traffickers and prostitutes were all expelled. For those who didn't cooperate, Nazareth would let them fall down. Lucky built a new social order in the building. He also hired a lawyer to advise on the legalization of his business practices. But Lucky didn't plan to negotiate with the landlord at all. He delayed meeting the landlord while collecting the rent. If the landlord had no income, they would have no money to pay the property tax and other related expense. When the landlord defaulted, the building was sold by auction. At this time, Lucky would send lawyer to buy the building at a low price. In this way, Lucky quickly took control of 20 buildings. While he provided cheap housings for the poor, the trust's earnings were skyrocketing. Lucky had created a good living environment for the poor, so the poor people called him Robin Hood of Africa, and in the eyes of white people, he was a black boss. Especially, the white police saw him as a thorn in the side. That night, a white girl, Leah, drove into a slum and almost ran into Lucky. He learned that the girl was looking for her brother. Her brother owed Tony and could be killed. Lucky had always hated traffickers. He came to Tony's hotel and paid to save Leah's brother. Leah had a good feeling for Lucky, and their relationship was getting closer. That day, Lucky's black girlfriend was arrested for robbing with her brother. Lucky went to bail and broke up with her. And then he had a new relationship with his white girlfriend. Lucky didn't allow drug trafficking in his territory, which damaged Tony's interests. So Tony came to Lucky and hoped they can work together to make a lot of money. Lucky's attitude of firmly resisting drugs made him not happy to meet each other. It also made Tony hate Lucky more and more. Tony knew Nazareth was supporting Lucky, so he bought Nazareth to work for himself. He let Nazareth secretly trade drugs in Lucky's territory. Then it was revealed to the white police, giving them an excuse to expel the tenants, and blew up buildings that were considered dangerous. This had caused huge economic losses to Lucky. Tony thought that Lucky would compromise, so he came forward to negotiate with him again. Lucky was so angry that he wanted to kill Tony. How could he cooperate with Tony? But Tony thought of starting with Leah's brother. Leah's brother had been in the drug center since he was recused by Lucky. Tony bribed insiders to lure him back into contact. Finally, he died of drug overdose in the street. Zakas proposed to take revenge on Tony, but Lucky endured his grief and said when it was time to revenge. But his patience didn't change his peaceful life. One night, Lucky and Zakas were attacked when they were walking in the street. Zakas was shot to death. Lucky finally decided to take revenge. He summoned his people to rush into Tony's headquarters to kill them. There was a lot of confusion between two sides. After the fighting, Lucky chased to the end to kill Tony. The battle between them had attracted a lot of police. Lucky was caught by the police before he could escape because he was injured in the fight. That day, when Lucky was interviewed by a reporter, he suddenly felt unwell and was rushed to the hospital. Lawyer and accountant presented at the right time to visit. When the police came to inspect again, he was replaced under the quilt. Lucky had taken the money, changed into a suit and drove away from there in a sport car. This is the end of the story. If you like my videos, don't forget to follow my channel. Thank you for watching. See you next time.